Good evening and welcome to the Berlin Planning and Zoning Commission meeting of March 16th, 2023. We'll call the meeting to order, and at this time I'd like to ask folks with cell phones to mute them so that they don't interrupt the meeting. The first item of business is the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Maureen, would you do a roll call, please?
Well, thank you. June Daly,
Present.
Andrea Blue Miller here. Diane Jorsey.
Here.
Zigmont.
Here.
Brian Rogan.
Here.
Joan Bailey.
Here,
Remotely.
yes,
Nikki Stambisky asked to be excused. And Steve Biella Jr.
Here.
Remotely.
Thank you.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. First item on the agenda is approval of minutes for March 2nd, 2023. We,
Actually, I'm
Mhm.
sorry, they
No.
weren't distributed inadvertently and being approved.
okay, so we will move on then to the next item on the agenda, public hearings. Item A, proposed amendment of planning and zoning staff to the Berlin zoning regulations, section 11DD, planned residential infill development. The public hearing was opened January 19th and ran February 2nd, February 16th, and March 2nd.
So I would just like to comment that with the events of staff time this past week, we haven't added anything different or new, and I'd ask that the commission continue this item.
Okay, and I do have a call, but I see that it's been tabled. Do you want me to open the meeting with the call, or should we just wait till next time?
So, and the second item on the, item number B, which was, a public hearing with regard to, the zone change, application of Ralph Y. L. Hayek. We got a letter requesting that that be continued and the public hearing not be opened until the April 20th meeting. Double check the date. Yes, the 20th.
Okay, so we need a motion still on item A.
I'm sorry,
the motion.
Diane. Is the item, excuse me, item A, is that the planned residential infill?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so the motion would be to continue that?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, I'd make that motion.
Thank you. Motion made by Joan Veely,
Second.
second Tim Zigmont. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nobody opposed. Okay, so we'll move on to item B, which has been, we've received a request from the applicant to use extension time and open the public hearing on April 20th. The meeting, public hearing hasn't been opened, so do we need a motion on that, or
Yeah, you can reschedule it.
we can, okay,
It'll be fine.
I'll make the motion to reschedule to our next, or April 20th meeting.
thank you, Brian and Andra, to continue or postpone to April 20th. Those in favor? Opposed? So moved. Next item on the agenda, old business applications for 550, 554 Berlin Turnpike Associates LLC, 502 Berlin Turnpike map 10-2 block 83 lot 13B, 522 Berlin Turnpike map 10-2 block 83 lot 13, 554 Berlin Turnpike map 10-2 block 83 lot 14. Public hearing started on October 6th, November 3rd, December 1st, December 15th, January 12th, and here we are now. So the first portion that we will be discussing separately, although these items had been combined during the public hearing, First item for discussion is zoning map amendment request from Berlin Turnpike 1, BT1 to Berlin Turnpike Development, BTD. And so we've had a lot of discussion on this, and does anybody have something to start us off with for discussion?
Madam Vice Chair, this is your counsel, Attorney Capola. If I could just say a few introductory comments,
Sure, please.
if I could. So obviously, as the members who are here tonight will recall, you did have a special meeting on Tuesday night wherein you moved to rescind the prior, which was entered on March the 2nd, to deny that application. So this is a new deliberation session. And I just want to revisit again some of the guidance that your planner and myself that we gave you on Tuesday as to start the new deliberations session as a preface for the continuation of the deliberation session tonight. Again, to emphasize, this is a zone change application, so you're looking at and as I recall, Ms. Giusti read into the record for you the purposes of the BTD zone. So when you are considering a zone change, you are looking at your comprehensive plan contained in your regulations, as well as your advisory document, your POCD, to the extent that it may address or be applicable to the comprehensive plan in the parcels in question, to determine, the suitability of the proposed change. So, I just remind you of that. Also, it is important when you're acting on each application tonight to be certain that in terms of the reasons for the actions that you propose in your respective motions, whether they be motions to approve, motions to deny, that they do have a basis in the record of the proceedings. So as you indicated, there were 5 nights of public hearing. Some were more lengthy than others, but it was a combined public hearing to address the zone change, the special permit, as well as the site plan application. And there are different considerations with each. So I encourage you, to take your time going through this. For the record, and I will submit my email for record purposes as well, but I did send an email to Commissioners Veely, Jorsey, Grogan, Zigma, Daly, and Millard, who will be acting on these applications, with the links to the video recordings on the town's YouTube channel for each of the nights of public hearing. Again, as Vice Chair Jorsey indicated, those nights were October the 6th, November the 3rd, December the 1st, December the 15th of 2022, and then the final night of public hearing at which it closed was January the 12th of this year. So that's all I'm going to say at this point. We did draft very simplistic motions, both a motion to approve and a motion to deny the zone change, just to start you off. And again, I think I just want to focus you in your discussion on, the purposes of the BTD zone that are contained in section 8H of 8H1 of your zoning regulations. Thanks so much for the opportunity to address you.
Thank you, Jennifer. I also want to make sure that we're clear before we begin the deliberation, based on the meeting that we had earlier this week, that I want to make sure that we have the proper people seated and participating in the deliberation. And so I understand from our meeting earlier in the week that Mr. Hamel is unable to participate in this deliberation. So seated will be June Daly, Tim Zigmont, Andra Lou Millard, Brian Rogan, and Joan Veely, and myself.
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you. Okay, so Maureen has presented us with some potential motions for discussion. If somebody would like to start us off. Any thoughts, comments? Maureen, would you like to?
I am, if you give us 1 second with our new technology, Ellen's gonna try to find the file and share on the screen the potential motion on the zone change. And I'm hoping I can email it to Joan Veely in the meantime, so she's not at our well, she'll see it on the screen, which is why we want to share it, but that it can also, she's not bound by what we're zoomed in on, let's put it that way. And
So,
I
so,
think the applicant as well is on, so I'll try to share it with him too.
so if I may, again, this is Attorney Capola. I do want to emphasize something about the drafting of motions. As you know, you certainly are not in any way bound to use anything that staff and council draft. It's just something, again, to get you started for purposes of discussion. You can use some of it, all of it, or none of it at all. So while they, again, look to put those on screen share, I just want to emphasize that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Diane, do you mind if I start?
I do not mind at all.
Okay,
Please do.
all right. I've thought long and hard about this project and I've reconsidered it and I've given it probably more time than, well, not, I won't say more time than any other member because I know everyone has been doing due diligence. But I come back to the same resolve. I see there's a lot of problems with this property. I see there's power, electrical power towers that traverse the property. There are wetlands on the property. There's existing commercial uses with loading docks on the property. And you also have some, I think it's a water tower. I'm not quite sure what that big blue thing is. But we have a lot of encumbrances. And I have a hard time trying to reason out how I would put any residential among these working obstacles. And I look at the surrounding property, which is on Woodlawn. I know it's been suggested that there would be a boulevard coming out, but we are just talking about the text amendment, the change. I look at the surrounding properties. We have industrial, we have some commercial on Woodlawn. And I know that north of the property, they do have some mixed uses, but those mixed uses that are being built do not have the obstacles that this parcel has. I do not believe that this fits well with the plan of conservation and development. And I know that we're working on that as well. And honestly, I just do not see this as a good fit. So, I mean, that's how I feel.
Thank you, Joan. Does anybody have comments to continue the discussion? Tim?
I think this is constant with the developments that have been happening in the Brown Turnpike with the zone changes that were done already similar. And it is a continuation of that side of the Turnpike. And it is stated in our plan of conservation, and our overlay zone, I mean, our attention of the B2 zone, and to promote the mixed use system with commercial. And it is mixed use with commercial, similar to the other ones that we have approved. And I know it's a hard site. I am also going with the recommendation of our, I don't know what they call it, the guy that looked over, what's they call him, consultant, that did not have a problem with the thing. They did have some things that he brought up, and everything was addressed. The water storage area, sewer lines and stuff that he brought up, and turning radius for school bus. All the items that our consultant brought up was addressed. So any potential items that were a conflict.
So we're, I
has been-
want to make sure we're talking about the zone change, not the
Well,
site plan.
Okay, but he had brought his talk up about the site plan at the same time, so, but, I mean, the zone change, so he had no problem with the zone change. And I agree with that.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Please.
All right. I understand what Mr. Zigmont's or Commissioner Zigmont's idea is, and I understand that he's trying to meld this with the development that's already been approved from the turnpike north of this project. However, I will state again for the record that this parcel of property has encumbrances that the other parcels did not. The other parcels connected with existing Fieldstone Crossing. If we're going to look at the Adadio property, which is the next line up, they did not have water towers. They did not have power lines. They did not have an active industrial / commercial uses with loading docks. This is all very unique to this parcel of property. And as I look at it and I think of the zoning that is surrounding it, and I understand the need to continue the residential and the mixed uses, but to subject residential for that location, I just don't see the merit in it. I believe that this parcel of property has a very good use, but I believe it would be more in line with commercial use and getting some businesses back there. But I honestly don't see pushing for residential on this parcel. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Brian?
Yeah, I see points that both Commissioner Zigma and Chairwoman Veely are making to their lines of thinking. But I tend to agree more with Chairwoman Veely in regards to that. This parcel is not a clean parcel. It already has development on it, which really complicates it. I just, when I look at it and I think about, the narrative of what we're doing with, trying to get housing in close proximity and getting commercial uses on the turnpike, there was already a site plan for the other front parcel that had been approved way back prior to this application. So, I mean, the commercial on that lot had already been approved, one had been developed since they were saying the 50s, that being the ABC Supply. So I don't, as far as the POCD goes and the idea of, developing the turnpike and getting a mixed use development. I get it's part of the master plan, but really we're not getting a mixed use development. We're just getting residential. And I don't think that residential, if this was something that was fresh. I think it could be more worked to better suit the property. But because it's already been priorly developed, I don't think the old development with the new residential really work well. So I am struggling to see this zone change going forward.
Okay, does anybody else have any comments from the commission at this point? Andra? Joan? Joan?
Make sure my button's on here. In looking at the BTD zoning, it mentions commercial uses to encourage and inspire commercial development along the frontage of Berlin, providing housing opportunities. And it includes close proximity for employment of those commercial on that area. And I think some of the things that Commissioner Veely had mentioned to do with the encumbrances that are present. And just looking at the zone change, it's hard to make a judgment of if those aren't hurdles that can't be overcome with planning and engineering, which I think have already addressed it to some extent. I think this provides an opportunity for affordable housing, which is something that our town is strongly working toward to meet that 10%. And this would provide that as well. I think that's a strong goal of the town. And I would encourage us to find these opportunities. And this is one that allows us to have that diversity of housing and affordable housing for our residents. I think the lot, there was a mention to the small area for housing. According to the notes or what's on record, that whole area with commercial and housing that they're proposing is 21 acres. The housing is 12 acres, 0.61, I think is what they mentioned. So that's a lot of property to maybe create housing like apartments. And I think it's workable. And I believe as far as the other issues that were raised as concerns, electrical, can be addressed or looked at through Eversource and historical records. And I think we can reach something that is supporting of the zone change.
Thank you. Andra?
I agree with a lot of the things that have been said here today as far as the already developed area for commercial industrial and putting homes in the same area. I don't feel is a good fit. One of the items that council had provided to us is does this encourage walkable commercial development and at this point, I don't feel that it does that because the only commercial development that anybody could walk to from this area would be the mini mart up at the top. I'm sorry. It is. I don't see anybody walking down the Berlin Turnpike to either go to Kohl's or to go over to Ocean State Job Lot. So for that reason, I feel that this parcel would be better fit for another commercial type building. So for that, I cannot support it.
Commissioner Zigmont?
Yes. I also would like to take that the Conservation and Development Plan in Town of Berlin 2013 actually picked out this particular spot as one of the potential spots in the plan of development for future development potential. Sorry. And it does reflect retail in the front. It does it does have a piece of commercial in the property. But with that said, it is again similar to other ones. For the turnpike, the Deming Road, abutting Nadeau's property, which got docks and stuff out of it too. For the next one up, has a big car dealer next to it. Did put retail in the front. And that's the purpose of the development and the town plan of conservation and development. I don't know, every 10 years when we do the conservation plan of development, it's looking at the town and the recommendation of how the town should look in the future. And this was one of the recommendations. And it is just a recommendation in there. But I think that the town looked at it and pointed it out for a reason. And it also, on Turnpike, it's a good place to put the residential in the back of any of those properties. Because that's a built-in clientele for any retail on Turnpike and stuff like that. It also is a good workforce item. People get on the highway, go anywhere they want, especially in the center of the state. You go on, get on Route 9, go to 84, 91, whatever, and go anywhere in 2 hours. And that's the work, bringing that workforce into town is a advantage to the town too. And I think it's a fair assumption of the 2013 conservation and development to look out in the future. And that's what we're doing on our new one now too, looking out in the future. It's a guideline for us. Hopefully it's a good guideline and something we can think, but I agree that it is a guideline, and there is sometimes that the guideline doesn't work. I do think in this development it does, or this proposal.
Thank you. So does anybody have a notion to make a motion?
I will. Diane, if you don't mind.
I don't mind.
Madam Chair. Just before I set into motion, I just want to, I want to concur with Mr. Zigmont, Commissioner Zigmont, that the spot has been earmarked for development, but I do not believe in 2013, it was earmarked for commercial mixed with housing on this particular parcel. I think the hope is that it would be developed more for commercial or light industry. So with that, I would like to make a motion, Madam Chair, that we deny this application for the zone change based on the encumbrances that I had pointed out, the concern for the power cables, the water towers, the existing encumbrances on the property. And I believe that there may be some others that the commission wants to add in, but that's my motion is to deny. Thank you.
I will add in on Chairwoman Veely denial, because when we created this regulation, or we adopted this regulation, we were looking, or at least I was considering empty parcels. So when I look at the denial motion that our staff helped draft for us, the one that really sticks out to me is will not serve to promote the type of mixed-use development contemplated by the regulation. When I was contemplating this regulation, this is not what I intended. I think the other two reasons, I could see them not encourage a walkable, but there are paths and everything, so really where I'm stuck is at number one. I don't think this is what we contemplated when we created that or not what I contemplated when I voted in favor of the regulation. So on that note, I will second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Joan Veely, seconded by Brian Rogan. Is there any discussion?
Yes. I just like to, when I'm looking at the whole concept of the Berlin Turnpike and what we've done already and what's proposed here, that this one lot not being granted, I think is, again, something I've always said online. I don't like any spot zoning type situation. And with the zone being changed, coming down the turnpike, and then stopping at one piece that's the same zone and zone change. Is that spot saying this particular lot can't do it? Is that a spot zoning type situation? I don't know if it is, but I have that in my mind because of the flavor that we have coming down the turnpike. Now, as a, and I don't see a lot of potential lots down the turnpike as we go here. That could be basically developed this way because of most of them after Route 9 is the depth of the lots aren't a lot of depth. So I don't see this being on any other properties that are zoned like this right now. Maybe there is some, but just looking at the lots that are available and there right now.
So as far as I see it, with that comment, I would disagree because usually when we're talking about spot zoning, we're talking about giving somebody an unfair advantage over somebody else. And I think when I really just consider the precedent which has been set, the other parcels in which we allowed for this zone change to happen, they had different circumstances. Fundamentally, they were undeveloped lots. So I don't really see this as spot zoning because I don't think the definition works.
Okay, well, we have a motion on the floor. Unless there's any other comments, those in favor? Oh,
Thank you.
Meeting's going on tonight. That's what.
Phones are walking in the door. That's amazing.
So,
do you need more clarity?
well, I do think that it is important. And again, I do want to reiterate, there was a purpose to providing you with the recording links. Okay. Because it's important that, again, that in terms of the action that you take, that it has content in record of the public hearing. So I do feel that there should be more specificity as your counsel. And, whether that's perhaps it would be helpful if we do put up the right, I see that Maureen, I was going to go over at Maureen's laptop before, that Maureen appears to have the regulation up. To look again at the full purposes, if you have your regulations with you,
I believe it's page 119. In again, section 8H1. And I think that it's important that to the extent, some of what has been discussed was raised during the hearing. But, we always say we give the applicant an opportunity to respond. So I think you need to focus on, again, some clarity.
Can I confirm that with Chairman Veely that she can see the screen that has the BTD zone up?
Yes, I do have it here. Thank you very
Okay.
much for sharing that. It did come over. Thank you.
Okay.
So I guess they're asking me to amend my motion.
We're asking for clarity with respect to the reason for the motion.
Well, the reason for the motion is that, as far as the clear, let me see if I can choose my words carefully here. I don't have the other document in front of me. But the reason for my motion is because the parcel of property that we're discussing is more suitable for commercial and not mixed use, which allows for housing. The reason being is that the housing, and I'm trying not to talk about the site plan, I'm just trying to talk about the area that could be considered for housing, has encumbrances, and it does not allow itself walkability to the center of town. It does not allow itself a quality of life for the residents within that building, within those buildings. I mean, once they are, because it's being thought that it would be to the rear of the property, although there are wetlands there and additional properties, these are encumbrances on themselves because of the inability to traverse that property. Also, we have an existing commercial use that would be a hindrance for someone's quality of life. In other words, I cannot fathom somebody actually living back there and enjoying it. I think when we think about housing and we think about mixed uses, we try to put together or at least structure something where we have a sense of community, even if it's in the smallest of neighborhoods. And you have a community, and you have a sense of center within that housing complex. Now, we've seen this work successfully with other developments that we have here in town, but this one lacks that ability because of the obstacles on site. It's not really going to provide with the ability to have the housing yet be part of a community within itself and yet be part of a larger community, which is the town. I feel as if the housing itself would be so isolated. It doesn't seem like it's an easy get to and easy get out of. So I do have a problem with that. I have a problem with the quality of housing that is back there. There are just so many things that we're working around, and I just can't see myself clear to approving the zone change.
Commissioner Rogan, do you concur with the clarity that's been offered on the motion?
I mean, I concur, but I just keep going back to the narrative and the first one, the first thing that we wrote, like, when it's I thought the most important, which is why we put it first, promote the development of mixed-use development, including housing opportunities in close proximity to Berlin Turnpike's commercial uses to encourage and inspire commercial development along the road frontage of the Berlin Turnpike. It's not encouraging or inspiring commercial development. The parcel already has a large industrial building there and it already has a pre-existing approved site plan for another building along the frontage. The development for the commercial is already there. And that, for me, going back to my earlier thoughts of why we chose to do this zone, was we were looking at the turnpike and saying, okay, it's a hard parcel. Our turnpike's hard because how shallow a lot of our parcels are. With a lot of the residential behind them. How do we make something that works where we get the frontage along the turnpike developed commercially, retail, and make it beneficial to a builder or developer? And that's where the idea, I think, putting residential behind it met a lot of other things, such as Commissioner Zigmont was talking about with, workforces or housing or affordability. But really, for me, the goal of this was to see a nice turnpike. Good businesses up and down the frontage. So when I look at considering this parcel for zone change, you're not encouraging or inspiring any commercial development. It's already there. The only reason to zone change this would be for straight residential.
Hmm.
So I mean, that's where I'm stuck. Because had this been a blank parcel, I could see this zone easily working there. Even with the encumbrances of the power lines and some of the other, the water tower behind it and everything, because you would have the space. You wouldn't be so restricted as to what you could do. To really do a nice project. And I'm not saying that it's not the potential for not a nice project, but just it's already developed. And I think we should stick with the current zone because I think, like Chairwoman Veely was saying, commercial is a better fit because it's already been developed as commercial.
May I?
It's part of the motion, so I just want to make sure that we're straight.
Okay.
So, we have a motion, we have a second. I just want to ask Jennifer if you feel that we've provided the clarity with what's been further discussed. Before I open things up for discussion.
Well, I think that both Chairman Veely and Commissioner Rogan, they both mentioned the same thing. Ultimately, and Commissioner Rogan just emphasized one particular aspect. So I think what should probably happen though, is there should be a withdrawal of the original motion. And let's follow Robert's rules and do a motion to amend and vote on that, and then do a clean amended motion. And I'm sorry to have you do that, but it
No,
just is.
I want to
know,
make sure we do it right.
Well,
Yep.
for purposes of your staff too,
Mhm.
having to write a letter of decision, it can become very confusing about what the collective reasons for the action are.
Mhm.
So I just want to emphasize the importance of that as well.
Okay, so,
So I'll rescind, I'll withdraw my motion. Is that what you need?
yes,
Okay. So I will withdraw the motion.
All right, then I will make a motion.
you've withdrawn too.
First you have
I
to
withdraw as well.
Okay. You want to try the motion, Brian?
I'll try the motion, and so I'll make the motion, I hereby make the motion to deny the proposed map amendment change to the zone of the subject parcels from BT1 to BTD. As the proposed zone change is not consistent with the comprehensive plan of the town of Berlin, and that it does not meet the intended purposes of the Berlin Turnpike Development Zone contained in section 8H1 of the zoning regulations insofar that this, as the development of the subject parcel will not promote a development of mixed-use development, including housing opportunities in close proximity to Berlin Turnpike's commercial uses to encourage and inspire commercial development along the road frontage of the Berlin Turnpike, as that parcel is already commercially developed along the frontage and has a existing site plan approval for commercial development along the rest of the frontage. As well as the give me one second. There was one other thing. So as well as the parcel, due to its unique characteristics, as far as elevation, it does not give the existing commercial does not give the screening of the residential. So give me 1 second to find the exact section that I am talking about. I apologize. So my second reasoning to clarify that better is in this section 6 of that, the dimensional standards, commercial buildings should be situated entirely or partially between the residential buildings and the Berlin Turnpike to provide screening between the residential uses and the Berlin Turnpike. Because of the elevations of this parcel, there does not allow for that screening, especially with the encumbrances of the power lines. It's a clear line of sight between the possible residential behind the commercial and housing. So that is also another inconsistency that I found within the regulation.
And you're done.
I'm done.
Okay.
Okay,
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Well done, Brian.
So motion by Commissioner Rogan, seconded by Chairwoman Veely. Let's take a vote. Those in favor? Discussion?
Oh,
Chair,
I appreciate all the efforts being made here. I think we're all putting a lot of good thought to it, and I just want to thank everyone up here. And stop me if I'm pulling wrong information, but things that are on record, I guess, is what I want to pull as far as my discussion goes. I think the applicant did provide information for both the zone change and the parcel. So if I'm doing this wrong, stop me. As we look at the zone change request, it talks about the Berlin Turnpike, and it's the length. I take it as the length of Berlin Turnpike, and looking at all the changes that are taking place along there and the evolution that's being made with that, and that the zones are trying to be flexible to provide change over time, to encourage development, to support commercial, to support our goals as a community like COD, and that is a guide for us as well, and not an absolute POCD. Thank you. And that's a guide for us. But if we were to allow housing in this environment, it will provide walking capability employment opportunities within just the diversity of housing and affordable housing opportunities that this will bring for us in free apartment buildings. People under a lower income level that would take advantage of these opportunities don't always have an automobile for transportation. They would utilize buses, they would utilize walking, they would utilize local grocery stores and local restaurants. And so we would be aiding and supporting our community as we try to diversify the people that come to Berlin, that we encourage them to come and help fill their needs as families, to diversify our community, and to provide opportunities for our commercial, like retail, grocery store, shops, source of workers as well. And I think that this zone change provides that flexibility that we need to look at. It's not just this particular parcel. I could be wrong here, that it's already got some commercial development, but adding housing, trees, streets, lighting, walking trails, connection to trails. They would have community center at this location, consideration for schools, school access. It's a positive along the Berlin Turnpike, and it would improve the site, even though it has commercial. It would be beautified by the construction of the applicant to make it very attractive to bring in residents to take advantage of what they're providing for our community.
Commissioner Zigmund.
Just one quick- I don't know. So I just, let me get it for myself too. The piece of this property was frontage of Berlin Turnpike had approval on it a while back. I think that approval expired. And that's why it was included in this proposal. Right, there was this on a smaller piece towards the north of the property that had approval on the property for retail. I don't even remember what it was. It was retail, but and that approval, I think, expired. It was, wasn't built in 5 years, whatever it's supposed to be. So that approval was null and void then. So when this one, this land was combined for this zone change, that was brought into the thing. I think there was 3 parcels originally, A, B, C, the one back and another small one up front. Those were combined and to do the proposed zone change on this property. So the only approval on those properties was the ABC buildings. Because there was nothing else on the property, because there was approval years back, I think, but I think that expired.
Looking so that we can maybe bring up what the point is. I think that generally speaking, despite a previous approval expired or not, a parcel that is not yet executed, that approval would be subject to a new approval. It would supersede it if
Yeah, they could change it.
and it could change over time. So that's just general, as far as course of business. And then an approval may have expired. I'm not aware of one that expired on that property at this time, but I can look for that. Because it was
It
incorporated.
was a way back. My memory's a little slow on that too, but
So, in consideration of my motion, I was kind of thinking about my second reasoning there a little bit, and I think I might have overstepped a little bit into site plan, so I don't know if I should amend my motion or withdraw it and redo it? Which would council prefer?
Drawing and redoing be the preference.
All right. It kind of hit me afterwards. I was like, I can't say line of sight of housing if we're not considering site plan. So I would withdraw my motion,
And I'll withdraw the second.
and then I will hereby make the motion to deny the proposed map amendment change to the zone of the subject parcels from BT1 to BTD, as the proposed zone change is not consistent with the comprehensive plan of the town of Berlin, and that it does not meet the intended purposes of the Berlin Turnpike development zone contained in section 8H1 of the zoning regulations, insofar that the development of the subject parcels does not encourage and inspire commercial development along the road frontage of the Berlin Turnpike, as there is already existing commercial development there, and there is, though not yet developed, there is an approval of a site plan on the rest of the frontage.
And you're done.
That's, I'm
Okay.
keeping it simple.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I guess I'll second that.
Thank you, Joan.
You're welcome.
Discussion?
So
Yeah.
just a course of understanding, do we repeat this as part of the discussion for this particular one? I know we've already stated a few times, does it need to be connected?
I don't think it needs to be restated.
You could simply state that your prior comments on the immediate preceding motion, you would like to make the same with respect to the subject motion that is currently on the floor. That's fine.
All right, so I would like to do as what is recommended, that my comments provided earlier for the immediately preceded motion apply to this motion as well.
Thank you.
Do the same.
Thank you, Tim. Any other discussion? Okay, we'll move the motion. Those in favor of the motion to deny the zone change request, please state your vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Want to do roll call? We'll do a roll call vote.
On June Daly.
No.
Sandra Millard. Ann Jorsey,
Aye.
Tim Sigmont. Ann Rogan, Joan Beely,
Aye.
So the motion to deny carries 4-2.
Okay. Thank you. That was not an easy one. Okay.
No, it wasn't.
So the next item on the agenda, special permit site plan applications for a mixed-use development, including 106 residential units within 3 buildings, a retail building, and reconfiguring the parking lot for 2 commercial buildings. That item is now moot, or do we vote?
You should be voting on it. Yes.
So on advice of council, we should be voting on this. Is there discussion, a motion?
Diane, I'll make the motion to deny. Based on the fact that it's not in the right zone.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? We'll move the motion by roll call vote. Sorry, Maureen.
Same order. June Daly,
Yes.
Andrew Millard,
Denied, yes.
Diane Jorsey,
Aye.
Jim Sigmund, Brian Rogan,
Aye.
Joan Bailey,
Aye.
Okay, the motion carries 5-1.
Just giving Maureen a minute. All set? Okay, moving on. The next item on the agenda for the evening, proposed amendment of planning and zoning staff to Berlin zoning regulations, section 11DD, planned residential infill development. We did not discuss this item earlier, and there was a motion to continue to our next meeting. So we'll move on then to the next item, which also has been postponed to April 20th, the zone change application of Ralph L. Hayek to change the zone of lot 27, block 106, lot 27A, block 106, lot 27B, block 106 Berlin Turnpike from Berlin Turnpike 2 to Berlin Turnpike 1. So that item is postponed to April 20th. Next item on the agenda is old business.
would like to add planner comments. That.
Planner comments are there.
Oh, they are?
They're on the agenda.
I'm reading my.
They're
own
next.
Agenda. I mark up my own agenda. I'm sorry.
So no old business. Then next on the agenda is planner comments.
So with this one, as was done with another recent this is an FYI, as done with another recent application, a submission regarding the zoning amendment of text relating to funeral uses was emailed, but has not been processed. No fee has been submitted for a formal application. So just, announcing we're not accepting that as an application at this time at the staff level. And then Tavern on the Tracks has requested a refrigerator enclosure to be attached to the rear of their building on an existing mechanical pad that's there. They're going to be moving those mechanicals and relocating them as mounted split units. They've indicated it'll be the same finish and materials as the walls and the roof, and I'm asking if we can handle that administratively through the building permit process, or if you want to see it as a site plan amendment. So it's the refrigerator that is it currently outside, did they say? You recall?
The current mechanical equipment that's going to be converted into the mini split units.
Is there.
I don't
Right,
believe.
they have to move that first. So, and it's around the back door. The back door.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, there's a motion for staff to address that issue by Commissioner Zigmund, seconded by Commissioner Rogan. Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Any other comments?
Did figure out what I wanted added. It's in red on here. So I'm asking you to add as commission business to reject another application. An application is the application for 586 Deming Road for special permit and site plan. The application requires wetlands review within the floodway. There's floodway on the property. And the required simultaneous submission to inland wetlands has not been.
So would you like us to deny that right now?
I would like you to reject that application.
I will
So
make,
you're not accepting it.
okay,
Not acceptable.
I will make the motion to reject that application.
I'll second.
Thank you, Joan. I was falling asleep at the wheel.
No, no.
Okay, so we have a motion to reject the application for 586 Deming Road special permit. and
Let's
site
say
plan.
until applicant files correctly.
I'll amend my motion to include Commissioner Zigman's comments.
Well, I'll amend my second, but I mean, that's kind of a moot point because they would have to file correctly in order to be considered, so, but, okay.
Right.
Okay. Any discussion? There's,
Yeah, I guess we're good to go.
I'll ask
okay,
staff, is that work or is the amended motion okay? Yes,
Okay.
okay.
so, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So moved. And any other items, Maureen?
I'm. All right, hold on.
On this last
On
one,
this
they said
last one.
special permit and site plan. But on the one for 550, 554, the Turnpike Associates, it only said special permit.
Without re-listening to, playing a playback, there's a concern that on the special permit and site plan applications, which are listed as subsection 2, on the last motion for 550, 554 Berlin Turnpike, we are thinking the motion only stated for the special permit approval or special permit application, not separately for the special permit application and the site plan application was in the motion at the time the motion was made several times. So, oh, not that one. Well, that was the first one.
Oh,
I'm
Oh.
so confused. I'm so.
So
we
Matt,
did that
sorry.
separate.
Chair,
Water.
I believe that when you made your motion, you only said special permit. You did not say site plan. So you do need to, commission needs to act on the site plan.
Can the site plan or withdraw, rescind the vote?
Oh, the site plan is a separate.
Site plan, okay, so, the item, site plan applications for a mixed-use development, including 106 residential units within 3 buildings, a retail building, and reconfiguring the parking lot for 2 commercial buildings. The earlier vote was on, denial of the special permit only. We need to vote on the site plan.
Okay. So I make a motion to deny the site plan for 550, 554 Berlin Turnpike. Does that satisfy?
Yes, I think so. Is there a second?
We need reasoning.
Should give reason. It can be because you denied the zone change. and the
Okay, the reason being is that the zone change was denied, so there's no reason to move forward with review or site plan or special permit.
I will second that motion.
Okay, is there any?
That
discussion?
satisfy? Diane, does that satisfy?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Any discussion? We'll do a vote by roll call on this as well.
June Daly,
Yes, to deny.
Anja Millard,
Aye.
Ann Jorsey,
Aye.
Zigmont, Ryan Rogan, Owen Bailey,
Aye.
again, a vote of 5-1 to deny. Carries.
Okay. And we were in planner comments. Is there anything else?
I don't think so, but I double check.
Maureen, you just may want to remind the group that next Thursday, the 23rd, is the Aqua Turf Conference, and then on the 30th is the joint meeting with the town council. regarding the cannabis.
The high school at 6 p.m.
Yeah, high school.
And
Is that 6 p.m.?
that is 6 p.m.
Okay. Thank you.
Joint meeting is in the spot, it's noted in the spotlight on town website. There's a link to some materials related to cannabis uses. It's on the website. It should be going out via Facebook and some of the other social media, as well as an ad in Berlin Citizen next week. So we're hoping for a reasonable attendance. Can I just also add that on the 27th, you have the P O C D meeting for those of you that are on the P O C D committee. And the Connecticut, the AquaTurf on the 23rd, I believe, they open the doors at 5. The social hour, and then continues to around 9.
Okay.
Dinner is usually pretty promptly at 6. I believe if it's different, we'll send the flyer again.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
So just with regard, and this is really for the benefit of anybody who watches your video recordings of your meetings through the Berlin YouTube channel. So the meeting on the 30th, again, is a meeting that is a combined meeting with the town council and the Planning and Zoning Commission. And really, the purpose of it is to have a public forum on adult use cannabis. So we're going to do a brief presentation, myself and staff, just to revisit what the cannabis establishment uses are, both the 2 original that were passed through the PURA, which is the palliative use statute some years ago of a dispensary and producer, and then the new uses that were added, and just kind of talking a little bit about the particulars of the uses. But the purpose of it, again, it's a public forum. We want to encourage members of the public to come out who are interested in this issue and share their opinion about whether or not the town should allow as permitted uses any of these cannabis establishment uses that are allowed by statute. So there is in the ad, there's a link. We've created a page on the town website. It is in the town spotlight on the home page of the town website as well. There's some information on there. There's a link to the statute. There's a link to the regulations that the Department of Consumer Protection prepared to regulate adult use cannabis establishments. And then I did also provide links to some of the ordinances, the regulations that reflect the actions of other municipalities. And to the link to the list on the DCP website that lists the actions that have been taken by municipalities that have acted, whether they've enacted a moratorium or whether they've allowed certain cannabis establishment uses as permitted uses, either by regulation or through ordinance, or if they've enacted any prohibitions. So those numbers are still kind of close to what they were. There's about between 35 and 40 that still have moratoria in place, and then probably another 35 or 40 that have acted to allow certain uses. Some have only done the retail, or others have only done cultivation or micro cultivation. And then there's about 20 that have enacted prohibition. So there are a lot of municipalities that have not done anything still. So, but the links there.
I can't hear what Tim's saying.
I'm sorry. There was a Channel 3 news article on this subject, with all towns doing different things. And I understand that's someone from town talk to Channel 3, so don't be surprised if TV cameras are there. That's all I'm saying.
It's okay. I'm used to
rumor
being
mill
on
says
cameras
TV's
that
coming.
are on view.
Mm.
From the nature of what we do.
And just to give everybody a little tutorial here, this is the homepage of the town website. So we have that spotlight that rotates. I don't know if everyone visits the website very often. It scrolls for that number of dots at the bottom to different spotlight news. So then go back to the canvas, please. Which is right now the first click. And if you click on the public forum on cannabis uses, if you click on that, actually the picture or on the words, then you'll get to the webpage that then has, and we'll add to this as applicable up until the meeting.
So the agenda is right there at the top. It's important to just point out that there is a remote meeting option. So as you conduct all your meetings now in Berlin, they are being run hybrid. So people can come to the auditorium of the high school in person and participate, or they could participate from their homes via Zoom. So the agenda is there, the link is there, and that'll be up and running.
Well, I just want to point out that it is a special meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission members and a special with on the agenda.
With the town council.
And
Or-
with the town council, it's a special meeting with the Planning and Zoning Commission and the town council. I think the option to attend in person or remotely remains as it would for any meeting. However, and I haven't confirmed this with council, but my inclination is that you are acting as though you're at a meeting. So like last combined meeting we had, I will probably suggest that the chairs, the mayor and Chairman Veely sit as officials for the meeting, and the rest of the board sit together as it will be a meeting.
And if you scroll down, Dylan, there is another reason why I think it is important for you to attend. I did add that if time allows, there may be further discussion between the town council and the Planning and Zoning Commission. Because remember, when we had the last combined meeting, we talked about this public forum as being sort of the next step. And then beyond that, you would be hopefully ready to decide what you're going to do, because you still have the moratorium in place, but not for that much longer, because it does expire on May 31st. So we do want to make sure, that if you are able to attend, and again, whether in person or remote, that you do so that you have an opportunity to participate in that discussion and hear what the town council members have to say as well, because I know that you were interested in that, and that's part of the reason why we did these combined meetings. Thank you.
Okay. Any other items to bring to our attention?
I'm done.
Okay,
I'll find one tomorrow morning.
okay,
Make the next meeting, the regular meeting, the 20th of April, because Holy Thursday on the second Tuesday. The second Thursday.
April 20th is the next regular meeting.
First Thursday is Holy Thursday. The town hall closes at 4:30. Therefore, the next meeting is the third Thursday of December.
April.
April.
Thank God it's gonna be April.
I would have been okay with November.
I'm blaming the blood pressure medicine still. I'm sorry.
Okay, so the last item on the agenda is adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn at 8:29 PM.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Bye.
Thank you, Joan.
No problem. You did a good
Thank you.
job.
Thank you.